Once upon a time, there were two pins. A tale of two pins, actually. Both were made of aluminum, and both were having to be machined versus injected out of plastic. One was made here in America, while the other was made in China. And because of their origins and where they were made, one did have superior workmanship and quality about it, with much better customer service. The other, still being made of an equal quality material, still lacked on the extra bells and whistles and little flares, and their customer service department was equally lacking. The end. Hey guys, it's Agent Kyle, and here today we're going to talk about two pins. One being the Everyman Co Grafton, while the other being the Karas Kustom Retrakt. Just to get us started off with these both still do contain the G2 refill. And why a G2 refill? Well, this is why. These are just a couple samplings here from my wife. She does actually like the G2s a lot. They come in a lot of colors, which is really great, especially if you, number one, if you can afford multiple, say, pins with different, anodized aluminum barrels on it. If you are, say, a teacher or a professor and you've got some place where you can stack a lot of these pins, here on display I'll also put a little cube that Karis Customs sells regarding how to store multiple pins. That's really, really cool. You could then have a whole bunch of different colored pins, if you're doing any sort of grading. Anyway, I digress. But just to let you know, they both still do contain the G2 refill, and I really do like him. So let's get this whole thing started with a direct comparison. Let's talk first and foremost about the similarities. First and foremost, they do take the G2 refill. Secondly, they weigh each 1 ounce. Thirdly, they're both made of aluminum. Fourthly, as we see here with the pocket clips are affixed in very similar manners with a 2-screw design, and it looks like at first glance that they do come from the same place. However, when you look a little closer, you can tell that one is a little thicker, a little beefier. As far as a wiggle is concerned, you know what, there is some wiggle on the Grafton, but there is no, there's no wiggle at all, and thus that's why the pin is rotating on the Karis. So I can't adjust that out for some reason. I think it's just because the screw holes are just a little bit different on the Grafton. But you know what, for what it costs, it's one of those things I'm willing to overlook. They're both clickers, as we see there, and really that's where a lot of the major similarities stop. So first we'll just actually take a better look at the Karis Customs a little bit more in depth. This pin is machined here in the USA, over in Arizona, by the fellows over there at Karis Customs. It does use a Schmidt knock on the back of it. There we go. Just as a point of contingency here, this actually is my second knock mechanism. Here, we'll try and get to focus a little better there for us. The first one, within a week of owning it, actually had a 60% failure rate on the knock mechanism. So I reached out to Karis and was like, hey, this pin is literally just a few days old, and my knock mechanism is experiencing a 60% failure rate, and it's not been aggressively clicked at all. Just so you know, here is one example of aggressive clicking looks like. Done. The pin doesn't, I don't do that with this particular pin. It's just, it's a very finely tuned precision writing instrument, so I don't do that to it. When I find I try and want to, I just grab another disposable Clicky off my desk and start to do that. So with it, as you can also see, it does have an anodized red aluminum barrel on it versus the Everyman Co is more of a matte aluminum, and it looks very shiny. And if this is the first time you're ever watching my Everyman Co video, I do have an initial impressions on it, but let me try and get a shadow a little bit more on these, and you can really see a little bit more how the Karis is definitely more of a glossy finish versus the Everyman is more of a matte finish. So the Karis Custom also does taper a little bit down the barrel, as we see here, versus the Everyman Co is going to be very, very straight through and through until we start to get up here to the tip. Obviously, it does have some knurling up by the click mechanism or the knock, and really that's the Karis Customs in a nutshell. In comparison to the Everyman Co, now this is where we really need to keep in mind the differences between these. This is a $65 pin. This is only 30 bucks. As I said in my initial review, this is a fantastic pin. Really, it is. If you're looking for something to get you into the everyday carry pin market, it's hard to justify spending over 50 bucks on a pin that you're not really sure you're going to use a whole lot. I mean, it's a lot of money to upfront on something that you're not really sure about. So this is a really good starter into that. For a very brief while, I actually did have a Fisher Space Pen refill in this pen, and you know what? I didn't like it. Just not at all. It's not a good writing cartridge. You have to apply an extreme amount of downward force to get the ball to activate. So it's just prolonged periods, no way. If you're looking for something to throw in a bug out bag or a camping bag, you know what? Fine. Fisher Space Pens are fantastic for that. But for an everyday carry instrument, just no. I will probably never use a Fisher Space Pen insert again for an everyday carry pen. So, anyways, I digress. Back to the Grafton. Really, at this price point, it really is an incredibly priced pen. It does an incredible job for what you get. As far as the knock mechanisms are concerned on it, this does use an in-house mechanism, which is pretty cool. It is, however, plastic, as we see there. I'm not going to disassemble it for you guys, sorry. But it is a plastic click or knock mechanism, and because of that, it is very loud. Let me try and get a more close-up over here with the volume. The grittiness has really subsided out of this pen as a whole. It is a very, satisfying click because you actually, really can hear it. Very much like the standard G2. It is very audible versus the Karis Customs. It's very, very quiet. And then a more of a close-up so you can kind of hear it. It sounds a little loud, but frankly, if you were to have the Karis in a room at all, not just a very small room like here I'm recording in, you don't even hear the knock. It's dead quiet. Especially now in a room where you've got some people in it that are talking, you never hear the knock at all. And it's really, really fantastic that way. So, still though, this is a very nice pen. It does, as you see here, have some finger grooves on it. And frankly, these are just visual. They don't really provide any sort of tactile ability. I mean, if you got cold hands, you're going to find that you start slipping down the barrel. In comparison to the Retrakt, this has 0 at all, and frankly, it doesn't really bother me whatsoever. It's one of those things where now, because it is fully slick through and through, you actually start to gain a little bit of traction on it, and it's really very nice. I really do like this pen quite a bit, so ultimately, when it comes down to it, though, between these, which pen do I carry? Well, I'll be honest. I actually carry on my person on a daily basis 2 pens. I will carry the Retrakt and something like this or some other Clicky disposable pen. Why? Well, in the line of work that I do, sometimes people need to borrow my pen, and I'm not going to give them my $60 pen to write with, and then they accidentally pocket and walk away with it. I don't think they would get very far. I would be like, hey man, can I have my pen back? But still, I don't want to give it to them, and I don't want them to drop it. I don't want them to do anything with it, so I give them a cheap pen. If they do walk away with it, fantastic, whatever, keep it. If you pocket it, fantastic, whatever, keep it. Not to say that I have any doubts about the quality of either of these pens. I know for a fact I have dropped the Grafton from pocket level, and it took a spill into the ground. I did drop this one onto my desk. Now, the desk is about half as far as the ground was, but it did suffer no major damage. So with that, they're both still very, very excellently priced pens. Really, they're very, very great. If I had to just buy one all over again, I would probably have saved my pennies and gone with the Retrakt. But again, we are looking at 2 very different things here. And yes, they are pens, but we're at very different price points, and therefore we're very different quality levels. There's a whole lot of things to consider whenever buying both of these. I still do stand that this is a fantastic pen if you're looking for something to get into an everyday carry pen. It does a fantastic job. It's got a little bit more of that quality feel over something like, this G2, and we'll just kind of leave this on, the table since I'm talking about it more and more. It's still the same size as your average, Clicky pen is concerned. It really is a great pen, and if I was to take one pen with me and just travel and it'd be in and out of pockets all the time, and I was at ever some point in time worried that I might leave it someplace, yeah, the Grafton's going to be great for that. But then again, if I do happen to set it down and lose it, which is going to hurt a little bit less, this G2 or the Grafton, for example. And that's where, that's just something that you as the user really have to decide if that's something that you're willing to invest in. And yes, some of these pens are definitely an investment. You can buy some pens that cost well over $100. There's another YouTuber out there, Nick Shabazz. And hey, if you watch this video, I'm really sorry if I just totally butchered your last name, but he does a whole lot of pen reviews, and he carries, one that's going to be well over $150. It's just, it's a very expensive pen. Now it's a very nice pen, but that's just not for me right now. That's just not something that I can invest in. And with that, the Retrakt is a very great compromise. Well, we'll call it a compromise. It's really not a compromise at all as far as what you are getting. Now, let's talk about some of the cons to owning any sort of Clicky pen from an everyday carry standpoint. Clicky pens need to be attached to something, preferably, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, not the inside of your pants pocket. Why? When you go to sit down, click. Especially on this pen. On these two, you're not really going to have that issue. So if you're looking at doing something for more of a carry to just slip in your jeans pocket or something like that, you know what, fine, go with one of these two. But if I could offer, any advice for whatever it's worth to you who are watching, if you're looking for a pen you can slide into your pants pocket, I would really suggest going with some sort of bolt action pen. You could go with the Bolt by Karis Customs. You could go with the Everyman Co. Bolt action pin if you wanted to, or you could even go with the tactile turn mover or glider series of pins. Boker Plus makes one. There's a ton of bolt action style pins out there if you want to be able to do that. How I have to dress, which is business casual, this is a fantastic pin. It clips to the inside of my polo shirt or my button up. It looks great, it writes great. The only con about it is that it was literally double the price of this one. However, you are still getting an excellent quality pen for double the price, and frankly, I would say it's worth it. On a machining level, there's a lot more to appreciate about this pen over these two by a wide margin. This is just, there's a lot to look at, and my machinist friend is kind of oogling over it every time I Instagram the thing. So ultimately, guys, having an everyday carry pen is one of those things where it doesn't necessarily need to be in your EDC. However, if you can adapt one into it, it's very nice to have. And if you're in any sort of environment where you have to have a writing tool on you and you want it to look a little nice, by all means, one of these two is going to be excellent for you. So, in the end, do I regret buying the Grafton? Yeah. I'm kind of 50-50 in there. I do regret it because for double the price I could have just gotten a Retrakt. But at the same time, it's nice to have had this so then I can compare it, because there's a lot going on for it, a lot of excellence going on for the price points. But at the same time, again, if I could really only choose one pen, I would definitely go with the Retrakt. Just the superior machining in it, the better customer service. I really am a big fan of the Schmidt knock on it. Despite it failing first, which, Karis Customs sent me two. They took care of me as a customer, and going back to the customer service with the Grafton, I've sent them a couple messages and I have yet to see a response. I keep checking all my junk and nothing. So really it just boils down to, again, life is all about choices and what you can and can't afford. My biggest suggestion is, if you can afford it, save your pennies on this one and go straight over to the Karis Customs. However, if you are worried about losing it, you know what, fine, start off with the Grafton. It is a great pen. It'll take all of the G2 refills, and there's plenty out there, so you can write in blue or red if you want to, green, pink, purple, whatever have you, and it's gonna work just fine. So anyways, I hope this was a great video to help you guys kind of figure out if you should save your money or if you should just go for it. I haven't seen a whole lot of comparisons out there for the Grafton versus the Karis Customs, so please leave any comments down below. I really love responding to comments. I love having conversations about anything EDC like this. So, hey guys, this is Asian Kyle signing out. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and share it with your friends if they are trying to consider the differences between these two pens.